What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicy Jet podcast, a place where you can learn a little bit more about your favorite team. I can share some stories about my time as a world-traveling diehard New York Jets fan, and hopefully we can make a little community out of this. I am your host, Kevin Rooney, and we got a big episode today. Why? Because I waited. Normally I release episodes on Sunday, but I decided we are getting really close to the NFL draft, so we're going to do a little mock draft Monday. As you can see, I've got the simulator up. We're going to be ready to go in a little bit. But we actually did have some Jets news today, so I wanted to hit on the Jets news first really quickly before we dive into this mock draft so that I don't keep you guys here for an hour. So we had some big news because the owners, coaches, general managers meetings are happening down in Florida right now. So that means Darren Mougey, Aaron Glenn, Woody Johnson all getting in front of the media. So I want to talk a little bit about what happened there. I do have a trivia question for us. We'll do a gym break. We'll get into this mock draft and see how we do. So first, let's start with this trivia question before we get going so that we can answer it at the end. But what undrafted running back from NCAA Division II Tiffin College rushed for 2,724 yards in his only 3 seasons with the Jets from 2013 to 2015? Tiffin College, 2,724 yards, 3 seasons with the Jets as a running back from 2013 to 2015. So we'll get back to that one at the end. But first, let us now dive into the press conferences that we heard from both Darren Mougey, Aaron Glenn, and Woody Johnson. I'm only going to hit on some of the things that, were the big bright spots, things that stood out to me. We're not going to hit on every little thing that happened. But first, I want to talk about Darren Mougey, because Darren Mougey was actually pretty bold in some of the things that he said. It felt like he was just coming out and answering a lot of the questions that we wanted direct answers to. And number one was Justin Fields. He came right out and said, we believe in Justin Fields. He's going to be the starter, which I was a little surprised. I thought they were going to say, hey, there's a little bit of competition going on here between both Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields, but instead they say Justin Fields is the starter and Tyrod Taylor is just nipping at his heels. So they believe in him. It sounds like they said some really good things. Aaron Glenn also said some things about how they believe he's going to be a quarterback that's going to break out and can be one of the top quarterbacks in the league. We'll see how that goes. Woody even mentioned the fact that he's a dynamic runner, where we really haven't had a dynamic runner, he said, in his entire time as an owner of the New York Jets. So I thought they said some very complimentary things of Justin Fields, and it was nice to hear that we have a starting quarterback now. We'll see if his performance holds up and if it stays that way. But I think that will directly impact this mock draft, because I no longer think that QB at 7 is really an option at this point. Sounds like they are all in on Justin Fields, which was interesting to hear. Number 2, Darren Mougey talked a little bit about Allen Lazard. This whole time I've been saying Allen Lazard's got to get off this team. And technically he's still on the team. Sounds like they're talking about a potential restructure, but if I'm Allen Lazard, why am I restructuring to stay here? I've also heard some rumors that they're just waiting for June 1st. They'll save more money if we wait till June 1st to cut him. Or they're just waiting for Aaron Rodgers to go to potentially the Steelers and then offer, a 7th round pick for Allen Lazard for the Steelers so he can go play with his buddy again. So as of right now, he's still on the team. I don't think he will be, especially after we didn't really talk about this, but we signed Josh Reynolds to a 1-year, up to $5 million deal. He comes from the Broncos, so Darren Mougey is very familiar with him, as well as Aaron Glenn being familiar with him from his time at Texas A&M. So I don't think Josh Reynolds is a number 2 wide receiver, but I don't think Allen Lazard is either. So it sounds like he's going to be the replacement a little bit there. So that's the update on Allen Lazard. Next big piece. We've been talking a lot about, can we play some offensive line Tetris here, where we've got Olu at left tackle, we've got John Simpson at left guard, we've got Joe Tippmann at center, we've got AVT at right guard, and nobody at right tackle right now. Maybe it's Chuck Okorafor. I think I got his last name right that time. So yeah, let's go. I'm getting better. And the Tetris that we could play is we shuffle AVT to tackle, because we know he can play right tackle. And then you slide in, maybe you move Tippmann to guard, and then we just signed the former starting center from the Packers who could play center for us. Josh Myers. So I didn't love that option because I feel like he's finally found his home, AVT. We're done playing Tetris, and I get it. It could save our right tackle problem that we have. But Darren Mougey came out today and said AVT is a guard. It sounds like they could just change their mind. Like, yeah, to remember these guys can just lie and they could just say something else in a couple months. But it sounds like he's a guard. Doesn't sound like he's moving. I also think it's a smart from a money perspective. I'd rather play and extend a guard than I would rather pay and extend a right tackle because they're going to cost a lot more. So if I'm AVT, he should be voting to go play right tackle so he can get paid more money. But I think it's the right move to keep him at guard. And then we just got to find that right tackle. It's just who's it going to be? That's the big question, and maybe we find it in this mock draft. The final piece from Mougey that I thought really stood out is he was asked about the extensions of Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and he said, we're focused on the draft right now. We will think about extensions after the draft. Once again, it's the same conversation. The longer you wait, the more they're going to cost. So he can keep waiting as long as he wants. The price tag's just going to keep going up because other people are going to get extended. So I didn't love the answer. I don't understand why you can't do both. You've got a pro department. You've got a college department. There's a lot of people helping you here, and this seems pretty straightforward in what you need to do. Maybe it's also Garrett and Sauce delaying it. Maybe they're like, the longer we wait, the more money I'm going to make, so let's wait it out a little bit. Maybe we get to the end of the summer. But hopefully we get one of those signed after the draft, so we'll see how that goes. Then let's go to Aaron Glenn. He met with the media next. Nothing crazy from Aaron Glenn. I think for him, I just love when he talks to the media because he really just makes a stupid question sound stupid, which is awesome. He just makes reporters sound dumb when they ask some of these questions. But some of the big things that stood out was, number one, he thinks Sauce can be the best cornerback in the NFL. He says he's got the length, the speed, the size. He's a great cover corner. He said the big thing was last year he wasn't that great at tackling, but he was the 2 years prior, so they're going to work on that. He also said that between him and Brandon Stevens, who's our new corner we signed from the Ravens, Aaron Glenn is going to work closely with them on creating turnovers. So getting your head around, finding the ball, because they both really struggle with that. But he was very complimentary of Brandon Stevens as well, so it sounds like he's going to be our corner too. And then, of course, Michael Carter in the slot. Finally, the last thing that Aaron Glenn really said that stood out to me was he was asked about Chuck Okorafor, about his answers about why he left the Patriots and didn't play the rest of the year. He said he liked his answers. He said he was excited to get him on the team. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully he's not our starting right tackle, but he could be a good backup if we need it. And then finally, the last thing, we mentioned Woody being excited about Justin Fields. He thinks that he's got a winner there. The big thing that came out in one of the business, I think it was the Business Journal, I think it was today, is that Woody has offered 100, I think there's 250 people that work for the New York Jets. 175 of them were offered a buyout. Now, most people will say, oh my God, what a terrible owner. He's trying to fire all the people in his organization. I say the opposite. This team, if you have been a part of this organization for the past 14 years where we have not gone to the playoffs, you should not be here anymore. And I know Woody cannot fire himself unless he wanted to sell the team, and it's never going to happen. This is the way to clear out all the folks who have culturally made this team very difficult to win. We have such a tough time becoming a winning culture because we just have too many losers around the building. And we've been saying it for this, especially this entire year. I feel like I said it a million times that we need to fire the people in the parking lot. You got to fire the people who work the concession stands. I don't care who, everybody's got to go and we got to restart. And I think that's what Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey are trying to do. With Rick Spielman on board, who's also coming from winning culture, is let's clear out the folks that we can't win with, even if you're in ticket sales, and let's start fresh with a new culture. So those are the big things from the presser between Mougey, Glenn, and Woody. It's actually really funny just like watching all these guys in like collared shirts or button downs. Mougey looked like he was moving to Florida and on vacation, but it was fun to see. So it was good to hear from those guys. We probably won't hear from them again until the draft or the pre-draft press conference. So it was nice to get that out there. But let's pivot. Let's jump into a really quick gym break because a lot of stuff has happened in our sports teams over the last couple weeks. The Knicks, I'm not really going to hit on the Knicks too much. The big thing is the Islanders were within 1 point of the wild card, and then they decided to lose 4 in a row. Not only losing, but giving up leads late in game, losing in overtime. It's been a disaster. They went down 3-0 early to Tampa yesterday, and just, yeah, they came back, but it was too little too late. They keep trying to come back in the third period, and it wasn't working. So the Islanders are starting to fade away. Even though they're still in the conversation, they're not going to be in it for long. Finally, the New York Mets are back. Opening day was on Thursday. Unfortunately, it was at I think it was at 4 o'clock, so I couldn't watch the first couple innings, which stinks because I was at work. But Mets lose the opening series to the Astros. Not a lot of offense for either team, so really not a ton to talk about there besides Soto's first home run, which I thought was really cool. But now I'm watching the Mets tonight. I saw Pete hits a grand salami against the Marlins. Once I saw that, then I saw Torrens hit a assisted home run. He hit a deep shot. It bounces off the center fielder's glove and then over the fence. So that was like one of the first times I've ever seen that. So I saw it was 8-1, and I decided to hop on and start up this mock draft Monday. So great stuff from the Mets. Great to have them back, and we'll see if the Islanders survive. And the Knicks are in it, so they just got to get healthy like always. All right, with that, let us hop into this mock draft. So I haven't done this on a podcast before, so let's see how it goes. But what I'm using is Pro Football Network's mock draft website. So what I can do here is pick that I'm going to be the New York Jets. We are going to do a 3-round mock, so nothing too crazy, and we're going to go normal speed. So let's enter the draft. As you can see here on the left, you can see all the picks that start to come in. So we got a lot of folks coming off the board here. And there's trades. Now for me, I'm not going to be too excited about any trades. Like, some of these are very unrealistic. Some of them have the Jets dropping back way too far. So for example, we've got the Jets trading pick 7 for 25, 58, 89. We could do that, but this is not a draft that's very top heavy, and pick 7 is a top heavy pick. So I'd probably want to keep 7 in this case. The Chargers trading with us pretty much their entire draft. We're going to reject that as well and move forward with making our own pick. So as you can see here on the left, we had Cam Ward go, Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty, and Tet McMillan. So if you are listening to this on audio, I'm going to try to make this easy for you to understand. So Cam Ward gone, Travis Hunter gone, Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, gone, Abdul Carter, my favorite player in the draft, edge from Penn State, goes to New England, which stinks that we're going to have to deal with him for the next probably 10 years. Ashton Genty, the running back, goes to Jacksonville, and Tet McMillan, the big wide receiver, goes to the Raiders out in Vegas. So for the Jets, we've got everybody on the board that is typical of this spot. Mason Graham doesn't normally make it, the defensive tackle from Michigan, so he's there. Both offensive tackles are available, Will Campbell and Armand Membu. Will Campbell from LSU and Armand Membu from Missouri. Shadur Sanders is on the board as a quarterback from Colorado. And then the tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren. Those are probably the players that you're going to be seeing pretty consistently in mock drafts drop into the Jets. Normally, Mason Graham's probably gone by this point, and either one of Will Campbell or Armand Membu are gone by this point. Shadur may also be gone by this point. But this isn't out of the question. I mean, Ashton Genty Will Johnson going early, that one's probably the biggest surprise here in this draft. But for me, there's a couple things you can weigh. You can weigh who is the best player available, and you can weigh position need for the Jets. Now, for me, the biggest needs are pass catcher. Tet McMillan's gone, so we're not getting a wide receiver. So the pass catcher's there in Tyler Warren. If you want a tight end who can also be a really good blocker and kind of be that 6th lineman for you we're going to run the ball a lot, so we need someone like him. My other needs were right tackle. So you got Will Campbell and Armand Membu. Or you got defensive tackle, which Mason Graham's on the board. Safety, you're probably not taking this early. That was my other need. And kicker, we should not be drafting a kicker ever. Now for me, I think the difference between all of this, it's really hard to weigh because a top-tier offensive tackle and Armand Membu is on the board. You're not going to get someone, I don't think, like him later on in the draft. Not a very deep, in my mind, not as deep of a tackle class. Tight end, there are other tight ends out there, but I wouldn't say any of them are as good as Warren. But there are plenty that are serviceable starters. So in this case, I'm probably not taking Tyler Warren here because I know I can get another tight end later. Mason Graham, there are other D tackles in this draft, but I also think Mason Graham is way better, probably a top 4 or 5 player in this draft as a whole, and would be awesome next to Quinnen Williams. So he is my favorite player available at this point. And then Shedeur, I don't think we're going to be taking a quarterback at 7. That's just my opinion. We could if he drops this far, but I don't think so. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with the D tackle to pair with Quinnen Williams and take Mason Graham just because he feels like a really safe, great player that I'm not going to be upset about. So we're doing it. We go Mason Graham at 7. Then you can see the draft is rolling on here. Ooh, Membu does go to the Dolphins. That's tough for us. Dang, because I like Membu. Mecca Ibuka goes to the Broncos. Another tight end, Colson Loveland, goes to the Chargers. Tyleik Williams goes to the Chiefs. He's a big defensive tackle that I thought could be someone that we could take if we didn't take a Mason Graham. And here we are coming up on our pick here. So we got a couple other trades. I'm not trading all the way back to 70 when we have pick 42, so I'm rejecting that. And then the Eagles, no, I'm not giving you anything better. You've already won the Super Bowl, so you can stay. All right, at 42, it looks like we've got, wow, Mike Green is still on the board. So Mike Green is a edge rusher from Marshall he's been really good. Mason Taylor, who you might remember, big tight end out of LSU. He is the son of Jets legend, Jason Taylor, JK, Dolphins legend, but played for the Jets for a season, and that was cool. So he's on the board. Josh Connerly, a tackle from Oregon. I like him a lot. Let's see if we got any pass catchers. No one, maybe Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond. No one's really sticking out. Jaden Higgins, bigger wide receiver from Iowa State. I'm a little upset that we had Trey Harris from Ole Miss go a little early, and we had Ariante Ursary, tackle from Minnesota, go a little early. So we're in this spot here where we can go a couple different ways. We can go tackle, so we can really nail down our trenches. I think that's a great way to build out the team. You start from the inside out, meaning you start with your offensive line, your defensive line, and build outward to the skill positions. Because usually the teams who win the trenches are the teams who can play really well, especially if we're going to run the ball a lot and stop the run. Look at the Eagles. They had the best defensive line and the best offensive line in the league last year, and they won the Super Bowl. So, the options here for me, Mike Green, probably best player on the board right now, edge from Marshall. The reason why I might go edge is because Jermaine Johnson is recovering from an injury, and then you've got Will McDonald, who, great pass rusher, but cannot stop the run because he's just a little too small. He's a speed rusher. That's what he does. You've got the quarterbacks. Jackson Dart dropped, as well as Jalen Milroe. So those two are available. You got Mason Taylor as a pass catcher, tight end. And then you got Josh Connerly, the tackle from Oregon. So for me, I think while Mike Green is the best player on the board, I don't think I can leave a gaping hole on the offensive line. I also feel like if we draft a defensive tackle and an edge in the first 2 picks, we're back to like Mike McCagnon days where all we did was draft defensive line and drove all the Jets fans nuts. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to skip out on the quarterback, and I'm going to skip out on the tight end because I think I can get one later. I'm going to go with Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon. And I believe the Jets have met with him. So there we go. We've locked up 2 sides of the line. We've got D-line with Mason Graham. We got offensive line with Josh Connerly. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far. Now the big needs as we're getting to our next pick is wide receiver, tight end, safety. You could also just go best player available too. I mean, I think we're in a position where we just need good players on the team. So let's see where Jaden Higgins went 2 spots before we did. New England wants to trade. I will never trade with New England, so sorry. Chargers want to trade, but I am not going back that far, so we're going to stay right here. So we've got some options on the board. This is a big running back draft. Quinshon Judkins landing here would be amazing, but I think we've got plenty of depth at running back on the Jets right now. Jalen Royals could be a very good pick, wide receiver from Utah State. Ah, man, I love Kevin Winston Jr., safety from Penn State. If anyone is a member of the Badlands community, Connor Rogers actually did a really good film breakdown of him. And, that just gets you really excited. Let's see. Shamar Turner, another D tackle from Texas A&M. Lathan Ransom, safety from Ohio State. Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas. Once again, there's still a lot of tight ends left, so I think we can wait. I am not mad about waiting on a tight end. Another quarterbacks are on. So I think where I'm going to go here, the big options are Shamar Turner, who's the big D tackle from Texas A&M. We already took one, though, so I think I'm okay to wait for another one. Jalen Royals, the wide receiver from Utah State. We need a wide receiver badly. And then we've got the safety, Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. Our safety room is definitely in need. I think we've got Andre Sisco that we just signed. Isaiah Oliver, who can play a little bit more in the slot, so I don't think we need him to be a starting safety back there. We also have Tony Adams coming back as well. I don't think he's officially signed back yet, but he should be back. But I don't think we can rely on those guys to be starters, except for, I definitely don't think Tony Adams should be. So Kevin Winston is one I'm really looking at right now, and I'd be excited about. So I'm really in between Jalen Royals and Kevin Winston Jr. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to skip out on Shamar Turner since we already took a D tackle, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and take Kevin Winston Jr., safety from Penn State. So we've locked down our offensive line, our defensive line, and we've added an extra safety to the room. Secondary should be top-notch, and you got Mason Graham. Hopefully Jermaine Johnson comes back. You got Quinnen Williams. That line is going to be really good, so hopefully that's going to benefit the secondary, including rookie Kevin Winston Jr. So that is our mock draft. Let's see, the picks are winding down here as it comes to the end. I'm pretty happy with where we landed. Like, we don't have a pass catcher yet. We got a bunch of picks to come, though, over the next, the next couple rounds, which we're only going to do 3 for this. And there's also draft day trades that you can do, too. Who are some of the veterans that are still out there? Who are some of the people that, maybe teams are looking to dump their salary at this point that we can trade a 7th, 6th round pick for? So we'll see what's out there. But I like the fact that we went D tackle, offensive tackle, the first 2 picks. You can even swap it. We could have gone offensive tackle with the first pick, then we would have come back and eventually get Shamar Turner or someone like that with our second pick. But I'm happy where we are. I think the argument would be, should you switch Kevin Winston out with a Jalen Royals or another wide receiver or even one of those tight ends? So feel free to argue with me in the comments. I would love to hear how you would have gone about this draft. But I don't think I'm going to complain about this one. So with that is our Mock Draft Monday. One final thing before we go. We've got our trivia question, which I want to answer. What undrafted back from NCAA Division II, Tiffin, rushed for 2,724 yards in only 3 seasons with the Jets from 2013 to 2015? And that is the wild man himself, Chris Ivory. Very fun running back to watch when he played. He just wanted to bowl people over. Got hurt a little too much, but he was really fun. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Only a 25-minute one. I'm sorry if you're not on YouTube and you're listening to this on audio. I hope that I was able to describe what was going on okay. Hey, it's first time, so give me some feedback if you needed me to make things a little bit clearer and easier to hear. But that's our Mock Draft Monday. I appreciate everybody for joining. Hopefully we do another one of these maybe next Monday because this is fun and we're getting really close to draft time and I don't see a lot more Jets news coming out right before the draft. You're going to kind of pause most of your operations. At least that's what it sounds like from Mougey. And then we'll get into who the Jets are going to pick out in Green Bay at the end of April. So with that, thank you very much, everybody, for watching the Juicy Jet podcast. If you could please follow me on TikTok at JuicyJet25. You can follow me on Twitter at KevinRooney25. If you can like, subscribe, rate, review this podcast, either on YouTube or on any of the places that you're listening, that would be extremely, extremely helpful. And I will talk to you all next week. See ya.